guys, Lucas Sacco here. Today we're looking at the new support and new decks that are in LEDE, Legacy of Destruction. This week we're going to have Tenpai, Yubel, Voiceless, Melodious. We're having all of those decks in between this week and the next week. So let's just hop right into it, save you guys some time. Actually, before we hop into it, I do need to give a shout out to my sponsor, First or Last. Check them out in the description. But for the combo of Tenpai, this is just a one card combo. Like, make a board here. I'm just going to show you what happens if you're going first and you open Bidera. You go normal summon Bidera on summon. This adds a Sengen Speller Trap and either adds it to hand or set it. It's important for something later that can set it, but we're just going to add it to hand. With that, we're going to add Sengen Kaiman. This card says that it can either add or special summon a fire dragon from your hand, but if you're in the battle phase, it can do both effects, which is really important. For right now, we're just going to activate the effect because obviously we're going first. We don't have a battle phase to add. And then we're going to add Tenpai Dragon Zongadora. See here, the effect on this guy that's important is that if you control a fire monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. They all have these little effects on them. They say once returned in the battle phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves synchro summon. That's like their little gimmick, is in the battle phase they can synchro a bunch and do a whole lot of damage, which is really good when the deck is going second, but the problem is figuring out what you're supposed to do when you're going first. So with the one card combo, the thing that pretty much all of the OCG has decided is correct to do is just to make seals pass. If you open only one engine card, there is some like lines where you could technically like make Striker Dragon and do some like Dragon Link combo stuff, but Seals Pass plays a lot less bricks, so you can play a much higher non-engine count, which you'll see in the deck list. You play a whole lot of non-engine in this deck. But this is how you make Seals Pass with only one non-engine, or with only one engine card. Let's go into the more complex turn 1 combos. For this combo, you need any combination of 2 engine cards. It can be Bidera, Zongdora, the quick play spell, or the field spell, or you can like have Prosperity. The really cool thing about this deck is that Prosperity, even though it makes you do half damage, you still end up doing well over 16,000 damage. I think the exact total is around 38,000 damage if you're doing everything you can to do damage to them. So this deck does play 3 Prosperity, even though it's mostly a going second deck. So you have a lot of consistency for combos like this and while you're doing this. But what you need is 2 engine cards and a discard. You start off with Bidera and you grab the field spell. We're going to set it from deck. This helps us play around Droll a little bit. And this field spell, absolutely insane. Probably the best card in this archetype here. It says that fire dragon monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects during the main phase 1. So that doesn't matter. We don't really care if it's only during the main phase 1 only. There's other things we can do once we've entered the battle phase to make it to where it really doesn't matter what our opponent does. And it restricts them from doing things even. But this effect here lets you basically full combo without getting punished. Or at least like break boards as you're going into stuff without getting punished. Another interaction that's really good to know with this field spell is that in an instance of you going second and you need to break the board with your engine cards instead of just using them to kill, you can like use the field spell to add engine cards that you can use in the battle phase, and then use your engine cards that you had previously to make a Black Rose Dragon. And since the Black Rose Dragon is a fire dragon, it's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects, so it's gonna resolve. It's just really hard to live once you've been Black Rosed and your opponent enters battle phase. For this combo though, it's important to note that we're using the other effect of the field spell, which is to add a Tenpai Dragon monster from your hand and then discard a card. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to discard the Dimensional Shifter and add Tenpai Dragon Fedora. We trigger the Zongdora's effect to special summon because we control a fire dragon, and with that we synchro summon into Ancient Fairy Dragon. We're going to use both effects of Ancient Fairy Dragon in this combo, which is super neat. We're going to start with destroying the field spell to add. You can technically do this in a different order if you're wanting to. This gives you more protection on Fedora and your other synchros, so it's probably more correct to wait. But for the demonstration, I didn't. But we're now going to go Ancient Fairy's effect to special summon out the Fedora and use the effect to revive the level 4 from Graveyard. It's important that you revive the level 4 because this is the only tuner out of them. Which is really weird because all of them have the effect of synchro summon in the battle phase, even though they're not all tuners. Anyways, we're going to Fedora summon out the Zongdora and then synchro summon into the level 7 Sengen or Tenpai Dragon monster. This card says that when it's synchro summoned, it targets a fire dragon in the graveyard and special summons it back to the field. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except dragon monsters. We really don't care because we're only going to be summoning dragons anyways. It has another effect which we'll go over later. but you really just use the effect to summon back right now. So you summon back Zongdora. Which one you summon back here doesn't matter, but we are going to summon one back, and then we're going to synchro off our Ancient Fairy Dragon and our Sengen Rise Dragon, Bidet Dragon, whatever his name is, into Zulkin, and then we're going to set the field spell, which is going to trigger Zulkin. And this is where we're going to do something cool. We're summoning out Blackwing Dragon. You might be asking, hey, what are you doing? That card is bad. That card was good in 2008. It wasn't even good then. But now we're going to summon the card, and we're going to link away the Zongdora and the Blackwing Dragon into seals, and now we're going to do something cool. We're going to summon Black Winged Assault Dragon by banishing a Tuner Synchro monster from our graveyard, which is the Bidet Dragon, and then we get to banish the Blackwing Dragon as well to summon him out. This card is really cool. It adds a very good timer for your opponent on them having to kill you. It's kind of like Masquerade in that sense of it does damage every time your opponent does an action. But what's really cool about this one is instead of just being a timer, it also has a disruption on it. So each time your opponent activates a monster effect, it places one counter on this card, and then it burns them for 700. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, tribute this card with 4 more Blackwing counters, destroy all cards on the field. So it's a board wipe, it's a timer, then you have the seals that's on your field to also bounce, and then you have him to summon from deck. So I'll go ahead and show you what you do with that, because you do get a nice little summon off of the seals. When you go seals effect to summon out, you summon Bidora, and then you use Bidora's effect to set. We had talked about that earlier about how it's important, but now we're going to set from the deck this card here, which is follow-up. This is enough to kill your opponent, because any one engine card in Tenpai is lethal. Does over 16,000 damage, right? So we're going to set the Sangen from deck, which is going to trigger the Zulkin on our opponent's turn. So we're going to get even more disruptions on top of this. And that Zulkin is going to summon out Crystal Wing. It's just the most generic synchros, negate dragon monster. But also this guy is really hard to deal with, right? So off of just 2 cards, we got a bounce with seals. We have a board wipe. We have a Masquerade-like effect that's going to make our opponent take damage and damage and damage. We have a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. And then we have a Sangen for even more follow. Another important thing to note is that you can actually use the effect of Bidora during your opponent's battle phase if you want to synchro with the Crystal Wing Dragon technically. There's not too many good things that you can go into, but it's something to keep in mind. If you did want to extend more as well, what you could have done is you could have used the seals to summon Fedora, and then Fedora to summon the Bidora. Then you'd be in the same spot, except you'd have another level 3 monster, so then you could use either one of those monsters to do whatever you need to do. Right. On for the next combo. This is just how you execute the kill. I'm going to show you the one card first, and I'm going to show it with some reduced cards in it to show how you can kill people even if you're not playing all of the needed cards in the extra deck to do the full maximum lethal line. And then I'll show you guys the maximum way to do it. So this is just one card. This is only opening Zongdora. You can do the same thing with Bidora, the field spell, Zongdora itself, the quick play spell. Basically any engine card is lethal. Right? Any one engine card except for Fedora. So we're going to normal summon Zongdora and go straight to battle phase. We're going to attack with Zongdora and use the effect. And this is pretty important, but the effect is actually in the damage step. So your opponent can't Ash Blossom this effect, which is really important to know. So we're going to attack there, then use the effect, which summons a level 4 or lower Fire Dragon from deck. So that summons Bidora, and then Bidora on summon, of course, adds, like we had talked about. And this is still in the damage steps. Your opponent can't even Ash the Bidora. So we get to do 1500 damage with the Zongdora, and then we get to attack with the Bidora for another 1700. So our opponent's already taken 3200 damage on if this is an empty board. If you're having to attack into your opponent's monsters, it's a little different, but the damage still racks up so much that it doesn't matter. So now we're going to Sangen Kaimen, which is going to add a Fire Dragon like we had talked about, and since we're in the battle phase now, we can actually summon it. So we're going to summon out the Fandora, and then we're going to activate the Zongdora's effect to synchro summon. Synchro both of those off into Biden Dragon, and then use his effect to go ahead and summon from the graveyard. So now we can attack with the Zongdora again, doing 1500, attack with the Synchro monster for 2600, and then we can attack with the Fedora for 1600. Fedora's revive effect is not just on normal or special, it's also at the start of the damage step. So we're going to use the effect now to revive the Bidora and attack for another 1700. So at this point, I'm already dead. Like, we've already dealt over 8,000 damage, but let's just assume that we have to keep going. We had to attack some monsters, we have to keep going, right? So we're going to activate the effect of Fedora now to synchro summon into the Sangen Super Dragon Transcend Dragion. This card is absolutely insane, and this is what helps you do like 38,000 damage. But we're going to synchro into that guy and then attack for another 3,000 damage. Now we can go into the other effect of Bident Dragon, which says that if 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, then you can destroy 1 spell/trap card on the field. So this is a non-targeting spell trap destroy, and then we get to attack with it again, because, I mean, obviously it's a different monster now, right? This monster hasn't attacked. So we're going to attack for another 2,600. Then we can use Bidura's effect to synchro summon. So we're going to synchro with Bidura and the Synchro 7, because for some reason this card is a tuner. And we're going to Trident Dragon, and we're going to use its effect to destroy the 2 other monsters on our field, which is going to give us 2 more attacks this turn. So now Trident Dragon has 3 attacks on its own. I mean, that's 9,000 damage right there. If we had to attack a bunch of monsters before, we still have it lethal, you know? So attack for 3,000, attack for 3,000, attack for 3,000, right? And that's not even all of the damage that we can do. Because the level 10, the Transcend Dragon monster that we made, also has the same effect, that if 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, you can special summon it from the graveyard and then non-targeting destroy any card on the field. So we're going to go ahead and summon him out and then attack for 3,000. Other important thing to know, another cool thing about Transcend Dragon is that on summon, it actually switches all monsters on the field to attack position. So if your opponent had like a Marshmallow or something that can't be destroyed by battle that's in defense mode that you can't get around, you just kind of leave it there and keep attacking it until you can get to Transcend Dragon, and that's when you switch it to attack mode, and then you just run over it a million times. But if you add up the damage here, this has got to be like at least 20,000 damage, and this isn't even the best combo to do damage, right? We'll get into that combo now. So this is what happens if you open multiple engine cards when you're going second and you're going to kill them. You can actually have a much more secure line to kill your opponent. So we're going to start off with the field spell, because the field spell is going to protect our other guys just as much. But this is just any 2 engine card. It doesn't have to be the field spell. We can do what we did last time, and then like Bidura, add the field spell and get to the same point. So we go field spell, discard, add Zongdora. Then we normal summon Bidura and add the quick play spell and special summon Zongdora. Now we're here. Right? This doesn't look any different than what we've done before, but this is where it does differ. Now that we're still in the main phase, we're going to synchro summon into Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. What does this card do? I mean, this is a pendulum card. What is this doing in our dragon deck? This line of text right here is all that matters. Monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects during the battle phase. So you can't get hand trapped, can't get interrupted if your opponent has like negates and things like that. They can't even use them in the battle phase, right? And you might just be asking, hey, why don't we just link away with the Meteor Burst Dragon now, right? Why don't we just like disrupt the Meteor Burst Dragon? You can't. Fire dragon monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects during main phase 1. So boom, we're completely secure during the main phase 1, and as soon as we shift over to the battle phase, boom, our opponent can't even activate the effects. So we're going to do that now. We'll switch to the battle phase. Then we activate the Sengen Kaiman. We add Fedora again, and we use Fedora's effect to special summon out. Then we use Fedora's effect to summon back Zongdora. So let's start with our attacking. Let's add it up. We attack for 2,500 first. Then we get the 1,600 from Fedora and the 1,500 from Zongdora. We're going to get the Zongdora effect to summon out another Bidora. Even though we've already gone through one, we're just summoning once we have the bodies, we have the extra damage. We're going to swing for 1,700 now, and then we're going to use the effect to synchro summon. We're going to synchro summon back into Sengen, Rise Dragon, Bident Dragon. We're going to use the effect to special summon back from the graveyard. Doesn't really matter what you special summon back. You can special summon back the other Bidora if you want to. Technically, it's like 100 more damage, so you're welcome to do that. We're going to attack with that, and then attack directly with the Bident Dragon for 2,600, and then use the effect of any of our dragons here to synchro summon. Just remember that the synchro dragons don't actually have an effect to synchro summon, so you have to use one of the main deck ones. But we're going to synchro summon back into Transcend Dragon, attack for 3,000 damage, and then use Bident Dragon to summon back, get a spell trap card pop if we want to, and then attack for 2,600 damage. This is where this combo shows off how much more damage you can do if you do this cool little interaction here. We're going to use the Bidora effect to synchro summon now. We're going to synchro summon with our Bident Dragon into Trident Dragon, same as last time, except instead of just popping 2 of our other monsters, we're going to pop the Transcend Dragon and the Field Spell. And this field spell has another cool effect that we didn't go over before. That says if this card is destroyed during the battle phase, you can target one synchro dragon monster you control, and its attack becomes doubled. So that Trident Dragon that we control right now, that has 3 attacks already this turn, now has 6,000 attack points with 3 attacks. That's 18,000 damage on its own. That's enough to kill through a Prosperity with just one monster. So we're going to go ahead, do that, put it on the Trident Dragon, and then attack for 18,000 damage. And just in case for some reason that's not enough damage, we can summon back Transcend Dragon and attack for another 3,000. So that's like the main combos for the deck. I did want to show off just a few different versions of the deck list to look over. This will probably be the most popular version of the deck. It has so much room for non-engine in the deck, and it can even play Shifter and still kill through Shifter very easily. But plays a very standard package for the Tenpai Dragons. You'll see everything is basically a 3 of, except for Fedora, because that's a 2 of. And then we do play set rotation to get into our field spell even more. The other field spell that we're choosing to run is a new card that's also coming out in LEDE called Where There's a Will, There's a Way Out. This card is kind of just like Product Prosperity, and you can look it up on your own if you're wanting to. This card is a really good consistency card when you're going second, and so that's why it's in our deck list, because this is a go second deck. We have 20 non-engine. 20. People think the Snake Eye deck is toxic, or the Fire King deck. The Fire King deck has like 15 non-engine, maybe 15 hand traps if that's what they're doing. The Snake Eye deck has like 18 non-engine, right? That's what they're doing. This deck plays 20. So you're going to be hand trapping your opponent a lot of the time, forcing them to end on something that's either not too good or nothing at all, and then normal summoning and entering the battle phase. Important things to note about the extra deck. In the extra deck, this deck can also play Hida, Promethean, Raging Phoenix, and Zealantis, because all of your guys here are fire. And you may be asking, hey, why are you doing that? Doesn't your deck do enough damage? Yes, but if you get debarriered, you still have another way to kill your opponent. Right, you can still do like 10, 15,000 damage, whatever the damage is off of the Zealantis combo in that instance. That's going to be lethal. So you can kill them through debarrier really easily. For notable cards to look out for, Heatwave is something that a lot of the OCG decks for Tenpai are starting to side deck. People are putting this in after game 1, whether they think they're going to get sent first, and then they're going to Heatwave and just pass to their opponent, because, I mean, their opponent's not going to be able to play the game, right? So then they get another turn where they can just normal summon a guy in their battle phase. So they put it in whether they think their opponent's going to send them first, or whether they're actually going to choose to go first themselves. So that's an important card to remember. This is definitely what you should be doing if you're going to be playing Tenpai. Some counter options to Tenpai. I did want to go over these because I know a lot of people are going to be complaining about this deck. Triple Tactics Thrust. You may be asking, hey, what's Thrust going to set? A few different options. There is Thunder of Ruler. This is a really old card, but it says, during your opponent's standby phase, you can activate this card. There is no battle phase this turn. So pretty simple out to a deck that does everything in the battle phase. It just skips it, right? Another thing that you can look into doing is Threatening Roar. This card is a little bit more iconic. Has a CP printing, which is super cool. If you have those, I'd play those if I had the CPs, right? Thunder of Rural is a little bit better because there's no battle phase at all, but it is something to note that you can also play Threatening Roar. Some people in the Tenpai deck, for added consistency, they're playing 1 Gold Sarcophagus and 1 Blaster. They're using the Gold Sarcophagus to banish Blaster, and then Blaster is going to add any Fire Dragon to your hand. So they're just using it kind of as like a reinforcements of the army, a rota of sorts, to add any card in your deck, which is going to help you kill your opponent. Another thing that I've seen is that if you hard draw the Blaster, you can use Blaster's effect to discard it to destroy something, or you can use the Field Spells effect to discard the Blaster, and then summon back out Blaster, which is additional damage, or you can use it to link up or the Hida, Promethean Princess, Raging Phoenix kill. So for some more counterplays for the deck, there is Lyrilusk, Assembled Nightingale. Whether you're playing Pearly or you're playing some sort of Snake Eye variant, if you make this card and activate the effect, your opponent can't kill you at all. Even if they go main phase and they kaiju this, they can't do any damage because the specific wording on Assembled Nightingale says, also you take no battle damage this turn. It doesn't reflect exactly to Lyrilusk, it's any battle damage at all, so even if they kaiju this, you're totally safe still. Some people are playing this card as an alternative to Ensemble Robin or Assembled Nightingale, whatever this card is called. But this card does kind of lose to a kaiju, which I can see some people citing into or playing in the deck. So that's just something to be aware of if you're going to choose this option. The last random tech card I wanted to cover is Samurai Destroyer. This is a card if you're actually playing the Tenpai deck, and you can put this in against Yubel. This is the main counterplay you have to beating Yubel monsters, since they can't be destroyed by battle, and they take no damage from battles involving them. Even if they're in attack mode, you're not going to be able to get over them. So what a lot of people are doing is they're playing Samurai Destroyer. This is like an older card. It doesn't have too much text, but it does say if this card battles an opponent's monster, your opponent can activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. But also that opponent's monsters has its effects negated during the battle phase. So it helps you run over those like Yubel monsters, doesn't let them activate the effect to float, and then you just continue to kill your opponent. If they do something to out the Samurai Destroyer, like say they fuse with this card has another line of text that says, if this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, target a machine in your graveyard to special summon it. It can summon itself back, so it's important to know that if your opponent gets rid of it, you just put it back on the field and you just keep going, right? I wanted to show off one more deck list for the Tenpai, because I know that this will be the most popular build of the deck, but I did want to go over maybe the more fun build, and that's with Board Breakers. If you want to choose to go second, you could always do something like play this, and just start your turn off, let your opponent full combo, and then you can go Dark Hole, Lightning Storm, Raigeki, normal summon it into the battle phase. That's really toxic, so please don't do that. If you're playing against me, I would really appreciate it. But it is something you can do, so just wanted to leave this here in case you guys wanted to see it. But once again, I do really appreciate you guys checking out my channel. If you could subscribe, really appreciate it. But other than that, you guys have a fantastic day.